Imagine a world where getting fired from your bank job isn't, the end, but it's actually the launch pad for becoming a celebrity, a real power broker, and even a champion of this super unusual art form.
It really is something else. You've brought us this fascinating deep dive into a novel from, 1915, Edwin Lefebvre's H.R.
Exactly. And today, we're going to unpack the incredible journey of this guy, Hendrik Rutgers. He gets fired in this spectacularly audacious way.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just embarks on this mission to, redefine charity, manipulate the public, find love, all using sandwich artists.
Sandwich artist. It sounds bizarre, but he makes it work. Our mission, then, is really to pull out the most insightful, maybe the most surprising bits from this wild ride.
Yeah, see how HR completely flips the script on business, charity, even relationships? What does it tell us, about having a truly unconventional vision?
Okay, let's dive in.
So it all starts with Hendrik Rutgers, HR, as this bank clerk. And he feels totally trapped, right? Class B, $800 a year.
Uh-huh. And his manager, this Mr. Coster, just dismisses him, tells him flat out, confine your attention to the KL ledger.
Ooh, that's the classic corporate cage, isn't it? Just stay in your box.
It really is. But what's key here, I think, is how that frustration changes. It's not just anger about being stuck.
Right.
For HR, it morphs from wrath over injury into wrath over injustice. And he actually calls this indignation.
Indignation. Okay.
And he sees that as the path. Indignation isn't just being mad. It's like a driving force. It's his key to freedom, a way to change his whole situation.
That's a really interesting distinction, isn't it, between just being angry and having this, righteous indignation.
Exactly. And it totally sets the stage for what happens next, his spectacular firing.
Oh, yeah, this is amazing. He walks right into the president's office, Mr. George G. Goodchild.
And the exchange is just legendary. Goodchild is trying to dismiss him kind of politely.
And HR just fires back with, "Do you mean to tell me you really are the jackass your wife thinks you?"
Can you imagine? Just stunning audacity. But what's also fascinating is Goodchild's first reaction.
What's that?
He thinks HR is not only crazy, but harmless, unless angered. He actually tells him, "But you'll come back, won't you, when you are famous? We should like to have your account."
Wow. Talk about misjudging someone. It's almost like he spoke it into existence, though.
Sort of, yeah. But HR's not finished. He turns to Grace, the president's daughter.
Right, Grace Goodchild.
And asks her if she prefers wealth to fame. Pits Miss $80,000 a year Goodchild against that wonderful Goodchild girl everyone is talking about.
He's really pushing buttons there. And then the exit line waves at the purple president.
Oh, yeah, the president's furious.
And shouts, "Pray for your future son-in-law." And then on his way out, he even throws this pitying remark at the cashier, Coster.
The guy who told him to stick to the ledgers.
Yeah. Tells him his punishment for assassinating your own soul is that his kids will have the hearts of clerks. Ouch.
It's brutal. But it's all part of this deliberate break, isn't it? He's burning every bridge. Why? What's the game there?
Well, I think he understands something fundamental about that society, that money-making republic, as the book calls it.
Which is?
That notoriety itself, even bad notoriety, can be a form of capital. If you're bold enough. His old colleagues are terrified of him now.
They see his freedom as a terrible disease. Something rare, thankfully for them, that usually leads to, institutionalization.
Right. Suddenly he's this potential hobo, a possible socialist, an enemy of society, one of the dangerous have-nots. But the key is...
He's got nothing left to lose.
Exactly. So HR is out on the street. He's officially a have-not. And then he has this really crucial encounter.
He sees the sandwich men.
Yeah. And his description is so stark. Printed certificates of hopelessness. That's powerful imagery. What clicks for him when he sees them?
It's this grim realization. Whatever a sandwich man changed himself into, it was always advancement. Because they're at rock bottom.
Right, there's nowhere to go but up.
Exactly. And that sparks his vision. He doesn't just see people needing charity. He sees potential recruits for a union. But not just any union. A union for a square deal. For justice toward everybody, even toward the public. It's this broader, almost philosophical goal.
That's a big leap from just, labor rights. He's thinking about public perception from the get-go.
Absolutely. He gets that real power isn't just demanding things. It's about shaping the whole narrative, making even radical actions seem somehow just.
And the way he gets his first member is, it's pure HR, isn't it?
Hilarious and forceful, yeah. The poor guy thinks HR's a fly cop, like an undercover policeman.
And HR's anger just snaps, right, from being mad at society and tyranny to being mad at this one guy for not wanting to be his brother.
And then the offer. So blunt.
Yeah.
Say, Bo, do you want to fill your belly so that if you ate any more, you'd bust?
I mean, how do you say no to that? It shows his persuasive power, but also how he taps into those basic needs.
And he moves so fast from idea to action. That's another key thing about HR. The union's first act is this free lunch raid on a bar.
It's not just about getting food, is it?
No way. It's a performance. HR's battle cry. Free lunch is ours. Smashing mirrors, grabbing booze. It's a calculated theatrical protest, reclaiming what he thinks is theirs.
It's shocking, and that totally sets the scene for the big parade down Fifth Avenue.
Ah, the parade. Iconic. HR leading his starving sandwiches, marching to Chopin's funeral march.
A funeral march down Fifth Avenue. It's such a striking, almost surreal image. What's Lefebvre saying there about spectacle?
I think he's showing how powerful it is. It literally stops New York in its tracks, makes people realize death was still on the job. It turns the whole avenue into this vast funeral procession.
And the banners they carry, incredibly powerful, right?
Oh, absolutely. Things like, if society won't feed us, we'll feed the society of Worms Potter's Field, or just, and still we believe in God.
Wow. It forces people to confront things they'd rather ignore. It's using shame and shock as tools.
Definitely. A masterclass in using visuals and emotion to demand attention.
And then he creates the official union label for the SOSA, the Society of American Sandwich Artists.
Which is just brilliant. A skeleton carrying a coffin.
Symbolizing what?
That in death all men are equal, and in his coffin a man is the ultimate sandwich. It's dark, it's witty, it's unforgettable.
And they declare their commitment to professional ethics, which is where most professions end.
That line just skewers the establishment, doesn't it? It frames their weird art as having this moral high ground that, respectable professions lack.
He's got this cold logic, this almost political instinct of driving these carefully considered plans.
Yeah, it's not just chaos. There's method to the madness.
So, okay, he's got his artists. What's next? He needs associates, right? And he has this weird test.
The cold feet test.
Yeah.
Yeah, he asks these potential helpers, like this young guy Barrett, what is the one thing none of you can sell to me?
And they guess things like a gold brick or newspaper space, even smallpox.
Right. All wrong. The answer that makes them stare at him like he's an armed lunatic, or at their master, is cold feet.
Cold feet, meaning doubt, fear.
Exactly. Self-doubt. He understands that's the biggest killer of ambition. And if he can control that, or identify people who don't have it, he can control them. He says the masses lose because they inflict upon themselves their own doubts.
That's some serious psychological insight, especially for, managing a group of sandwich men.
It shows his mastery of manipulation. He's building his team.
And then comes the next big move, but first he shows this amazing grasp of law and PR.
Yeah, with his lawyer, Max. He's already thinking about how to fight potential legal battles.
How does he frame it?
As the little guy, the poor sandwich artist, up against the richest jewelry shop in the world. Classic underdog narrative.
And he throws in that statistic.
Oh, yeah. The Pearl Showcase alone would feed 186,451 men 1 week. It's pure drama, designed for the headlines.
It's not just about winning in court. It's winning in the court of public opinion. His stated goal.
Absolute control of the New York papers. He sees that as the ultimate prize.
But then he hits a snag. His own artists stage a mutiny.
Briefly, yeah. Once they've got full bellies, they suddenly find the courage to refuse to obey him. It's a classic human nature thing.
How does HR handle it?
Brilliantly. No panic. He just promises them fame and fortune. They'll be the Theodore Roosevelts of street advertisements, earning $1,000 a week.
$1,000 a week. But there's a catch, right?
The catch is they have to turn it all over to charity, like gentlemen. It instantly flips the script, makes them feel important and virtuous, and secures their loyalty again.
He really knows how to play people. So he's got his army back, he's got his legal strategy. Now he turns the spotlight back on his personal life.
Exactly. He uses calculated media leaks, sends reporters sniffing around the Goodchild mansion and the bank to publicize his bizarre courtship of Grace. He's manufacturing a public spectacle around his pursuit of the president's daughter. It's genius, forcing his personal story into the news cycle.
Then does it work?
Like you wouldn't believe. Socialites are buzzing. Apparently some are even jealous their daughters aren't being wooed, thus vulgarly to get into the newspapers.
That's hilarious. And the public.
They're eating it up,
Yeah.
blocking Fifth Avenue just to read the latest messages on the sandwich boards about HR and Grace.
It shows how ready people were for this kind of reality show drama, even back then.
Totally. And the scene at the bank sounds intense. Reporters grilling poor Mr. Goodchild about why he won't let HR marry Grace.
How does Goodchild react?
He loses it. Nearly throws a paperweight, curses the bank, to hell with the bank. HR is completely destabilizing him, exposing the fragility behind the power.
And the SASA, the union, puts out an official statement.
Yep, to the public.
Yeah.
It mixes union talk, art talk, and demands respect. It's masterful messaging, really cementing their image.
Okay, all this leads up to his absolute masterpiece, the Mammoth Hunger Feast.
This is where it all comes together. He gets endorsements from big names, even the bishop.
And HR cheekily suggests the bishop expects to officiate his wedding.
Right. He appeals to New York's better nature, framing his goal as making goodness fashionable.
Making goodness fashionable, that's the core, isn't it? And the ticket is revolutionary.
Absolutely. 25 cents gets you a meal and a coupon potentially worth $10,000 cash.
Which HR is funding himself.
Personally funded, yeah. It's not charity. It's a gamble, a massive publicity stunt. It guarantees everyone's talking about it.
And then there's the whole Perfectly Beautiful Girls Commission.
Oh, that's diabolical. He announces only 68 girls were chosen out of thousands, supposedly.
Why only 68?
To create buzz. Newspapers estimate over 300,000 applied. The controversy itself becomes the main event. Pure HR.
So the feast itself at Madison Square Garden, describe the scene. It sounds incredible.
It really does. Picture this huge electric sign. If you are hungry and have no money, walk in. Very direct. And the entrance is deliberately narrow, like they do in abattoirs, which is a bit chilling. Inside, there's this huge pile of silver quarters.
Which the hungry guests ignore.
Completely ignore. Just walking past it to get food. It's this powerful visual statement about real need versus money.
He's turning charity completely upside down, and then the riddle for the $10,000.
Yeah, a 5-letter word. Starts with A, that no man can kill, though it is dead today.
The answer's implied to be art, right? His whole concept.
Seems like it. He's literally paying people to engage with his ideas, making them part of his, well, his art project.
And the paying audience, how do they react to the hungry people?
They become charitable hosts. They're shouting, "Eat away," because they want the hungry people to get their quarter's worth. It's this bizarre interactive spectacle.
And soup pouring from faucets.
Thousands of cups in seconds. It's organized chaos, a performance of abundance.
And it ends with another parade.
A parade of the fed, yeah. Now they're conscious of their importance, being cheered by the very people who paid to watch them eat. It's a complete transformation of the dynamic.
So the feast is a massive success, but HR's not done. He keeps pushing this idea of social engineering.
Right. He starts sending out communications, arguing newspapers should have a permanent Department of Charity.
And he has this radical idea about justice.
Yeah, that man does not need justice. He needs the goodwill of other men. That's pretty provocative for 1915, suggesting goodwill is more important than abstract fairness.
What's his core philosophy driving this?
It's that belief he can make goodness fashionable. He actually says, God gave to men the precious gift of fear in order that they might overcome it. Man's fear today is to be good.
Wow, so he thinks people are afraid to be good.
And he wants to make it trendy, desirable, overcome that fear. It's less about morality, more about social dynamics.
Meanwhile, his love life is just as strategic and weird. He promises Grace's dad he won't woo her for a month.
Until he's wiped the sandwich stain off your surname. Such a great line.
But Grace doesn't play by his rules, does she?
Not at all. She's got this iron will, and she actually compels him to kiss her, breaking his promise.
So she's got agency, too. She's not just a pawn in his game.
Definitely not. It shows she's a match for him in some ways. And later, HR has this initial social triumph at a fancy dinner party hosted by Mrs. Vandergilt.
And he manages to subtly take control even there.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And significantly, Grace and her friend Ethel start talking about him politically, like maybe they'd vote for him.
He's crossed over from notoriety to actual influence.
He really has.
Then comes his final chat with Mr. Goodchild, the bank president, and he uses this great metaphor.
The incubator metaphor, yeah. He says the newspapers were the incubator that hatched his fame.
But now
the chick is out and growing. He doesn't need the incubator anymore. He declares he's beyond the sandwich stage.
He's outgrown his own creation.
Essentially, yes. And he calmly tells Goodchild, "You will be my father-in-law." It's done.
It shows his incredible foresight and self-belief. He made himself.
Completely. And he realizes he's become the only man the socialists really feared. Not because he's against them, maybe, but because he found a more popular way to tackle the same issues.
And he starts thinking bigger.
From HR to New York to HR to the nation. He's ready for the national stage. From anonymous clerk to this unique force.
It's an incredible arc. So when you look back at HR's whole journey, what really stands out to you? He starts as this nobody fired for not fitting in.
And ends up a master of public opinion, a social innovator. The guy who literally made goodness fashionable. He completely redefined what sandwiching could mean.
It really demonstrates the power of one person's vision, no matter how unconventional.
Absolutely. Which kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? Especially today, in our world, just saturated with information and causes.
Yeah.
How much of making a real impact is about the actual deed, the substance, and how much is about the ingenious presentation, the performance? HR certainly blurred those lines.
That's a great question to chew on. How much is the steak and how much is the sizzle? Especially when the sizzle involves sandwich artists and riddles for $10,000.
Exactly. Something for you to think about.